Hi everyone and welcome back to another interesting lecture of political science. Studying about Western philosophers covers the Western political thought portion of political science, and it is very important to study and know about the ideas, concepts and theories of Western philosophers because it is basically due to them that they have led the foundation of political philosophy and political science. I am uploading this lecture after a quite long period and I'm unable to give proper time to my YouTube channel and family. It's because these days I'm engaged somewhere else and I have joined a job. So apologies for that. So as you can see the topic on the screen, we'll be studying about the Western philosopher and that's Aristotle. So this would be kind of an introduction part of Aristotle, and in other parts we'll be studying about the theories and philosophies of Aristotle. Um, so, studying about Aristotle is very important as he is known to be the father of political science. He is one of the most influential ancient thinkers who wrote one of the very famous book, The Politics. And Aristotle is also known for his famous quotation, and that is that man by nature is a political animal. So, we will begin. Aristotle, the Western political thought. So, Aristotle was born in Stagira in 384 BC and then he died in 322 BC. So, his father was a physician, and that he was ultimately appointed to the Macedonian court. So, that was basically his father's occupation that influenced Aristotle early to, direct his interest to the biological sciences. And then ultimately, he developed the scientific method, which involved techniques of classification and comparison, which was evident in Aristotle's political, philosophical writings, right? So basically, his father's occupation led him and directed him to develop this scientific method. हम आगे पढ़ेंगे कि एरिस्टोटल ने किस तरह कितने constitutions को over more than 100 constitutions he studied and compared, and then he classified them into different types, and then later he gave it the theory of best practicable state. तो हम इसके बारे में बाद में पढ़ेंगे. Aristotle, he was very young when he joined Plato's academy. Plato was his teacher. ठीक है तो फिर then Aristotle was 37 when he left Plato's academy, and then in 19 in the year 1335 BC, Aristotle he returned to Athens and then he established his own school, which was Lyceum, and that was kept he kept his school for about 12 years. So Aristotle and Plato's thinking and ideas were sometimes quite opposing, and it was Aristotle who developed this political philosophy. Like he started up, he gave ideas about constitutionalism and rule of law. He was the one who talked about these things and presented such theories regarding this, because I told you before, he studied over 100 above constitutions, and he presented several theories on that. So Plato was kind of a radical thinker, but Aristotle was kind of a conservative in his political speculation, because Plato he followed a deductive method. He was a deductive thinker, but Aristotle followed an inductive method. Now I'll tell you about the deductive and inductive method कि ये क्या होते हैं, because no matter how unrealistic that sounds, but in many fields such as science and law, proof simply doesn't exist, and we mostly people rely on facts and evidence that leads you to certain conclusion. So Aristotle जो थे, he used and followed the inductive method. Now what happens in inductive method, that someone who uses inductive reasoning makes specific observation and then he draws a general conclusion, right? But in deductive method, what happens, that deductive reasoning is a specific conclusion that follows a general theory, right? Because like in अब जो एरिस्टोटल का था ना इंडक्टिव रीजनिंग, उसमें करेक्ट ऑब्जर्वेशंस लाइक दे वोंट नेसेसरी लीड यू टू करेक्ट जनरल कंक्लूजन. बट जो प्लाटो का डिडक्टिव मेथड था, because when using a deductive reasoning your conclusion will be correct if statements are correct, right? And it involves like moving from general to specific. But Aristotle का जो था, that involved from moving specific to general. ठीक है. और जो एरिस्टोटल का इंडक्टिव मेथड है, दैट इज़ लाइक, we as humans, we typically use inductive reasoning in our daily lives because it is very fast and it's very easy to use. But जो प्लाटो का डिडक्टिव मेथड है, ये जो है ना, comparatively it is more difficult to use because we need facts and that has to be definitely true. So this was a little difference between inductive and deductive method. So Aristotle, he wrote on ethics, metaphysics, art, poetry, economics, politics, mechanics. He wrote on physiology, medicine, astronomy, and logic. Like he worked on so many fields, a lot of fields. So that's why Aristotle is known to be a very most influential thinker and philosopher um, of political science. So, major writings of Aristotle, his chief work, The Politics, is really a justification of existing institutions like state, slavery, and family. Because that is known to be a calculated, because he suggested some remedies for the ills of the body politics as whole, like city state. He was talking about the city states in his book The Politics, and he gave the justifications for such institutions which are existing in a political system. ठीक है. तो that's his books are basically kind of a collection of essays. ठीक है. The politics is then divided into three parts, like book 1, 2 and 3, and it gives us the Aristotle's view of the nature of state, its origin and internal organization in book 1, and in that's the examination of states, राइट. जैसे कि प्लाटो ने अपना कॉन्सेप्ट दिया था आइडियल स्टेट का. सो दैट्स हाउ एरिस्टोटल गिव्स हिज कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एन स्टेट, राइट. And then in book 2 he gives the classification of states with a view of finding the ideal state, right. And then in book 3 he gives rise to the two constructions which are independent of each other. And then in book 4, 5 and 6 they are hanging together, right. Because it represents the first construction, and then it explains the nature and classification of the constitution, because constitution is very important for the state. ठीक है. It is the constitution that guides the state. ठीक है. So it deals with the political dynamics. ठीक है. Like changes in the state. तो इस तरह in second construction, like book 4, no, in the second construction, then in book later in book 7 and 8, Aristotle portrays his ideal state, which is the best state. He gives the theory of best practicable state. ठीक है. तो ये जो इसकी बुक है, his the politics, his political ideas representing his science of government, right. That are dealt in book 2, 3 and 7 and 8. And in book 4, 5 and 6 Aristotle deals with the political actualities. ठीक है. And he gives his views on the art of government. And then these books shows his political realism, because in my previous videos I have told you that Plato is known as an idealist, but it is Aristotle who's known to be a realist. So that's one of the major distinction between them, that Plato is known to be an idealist and Aristotle is a realist. So yes. So this marks the end, and I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. In the other parts, which I'll be uploading soon, will cover the theories, ideas, and concepts and philosophies of Aristotle, like Aristotle theory of citizenship, his theory of state, his theory of best practicable state, and his theory of slavery, his Aristotle views on classification of state and government, Aristotle theory of revolution, and also Aristotle theory of property. So these are all the concepts and theories which I'll be discussing in other parts. So till then, take care, bye, and